So, guys, believe me when I tell you there's nothing much going on at Bayern right now in the transfer window. There's no real transfer news to talk about, nothing to really get out there. So, I thought this is a good time to look back the last 15 years and let's rank every Bayern Munich season since 2010. I got the tier list ready and I just wanted to get some just a Bayern video out there for any fellow Bayern fans on my channel that are subscribed because I like to talk about Bayern the most. This is my team, and we are being bums in the transfer market this summer where there's no significant news coming out. Hence, there's nothing to talk about. I have no real reason to go and do a Bayern Central stream late at night for an hour or two talking about all the news. There's nothing significant going on. So let's start some conversations and let's rank every Bayern season since the 2009-2010 season. I got my tier list loaded up here, and yeah, we got actually I don't know why this row is here. There we go. That's better. That is a good amount of rows right there. And yeah, we got the GOAT, great, average, and we just got the trash, straight up trash. And a couple of these teams are going straight into the dumpster bin, the trash bin, honestly, because we've had a couple poor seasons for our standards, and we've had a couple stinkers as well. So I'm not holding back in this video. So let's just get started. First one up. This is Bayern 2009-2010. It's not going in the great. I'm just putting it up there to talk about it. Now, this was the season, so we did win the double. Louis van Gaal here. This was a season where Schweinsteiger is now fully transitioning to a midfielder from a winger position, left mid position, to being a central midfielder. This is when Thomas Muller has really starts establishing himself in this team. I believe this is the season that Louis van Gaal, his famous quote is, Thomas Muller must always start. Thomas Muller will always score, something along those lines. This was a good season. This was a good setup season for the next couple of years of somewhat mixed up and down success for Bayern, but this was definitely part of the buildup to that, for example, great treble-winning team, or the buildup to the Bayern teams that started their dominance in the Bundesliga. And Louis van Gaal planted the seeds for some of those for some of those flowers to eventually sprout and help Bayern to become a powerhouse and dominant force in the Bundesliga and continue being one of the top 3 best team in the world. You know what I mean? So this is a good season. We got the league. We got the DFB Pokal as well, but unfortunately this season we did lose in the final 2-0 to Inter. Remember that Diego Milito that Diego Milito brace, delivering us a 2-0 loss in that final and losing to one of our former players in Lucio, who we had sold just the summer prior. So stung a little bit back then, but yeah, this was our first Champions League final. At the time, this was our first Champions League final since 2001. And yeah, we were long due a Champions League final, and we faltered. We just could not rise to the occasion, and Inter had the players to do so, aka Milito brace. So this was overall a good season, though. We played some good football. This was kind of Louis van Gaal's peak at Bayern, and we got some good results here. So I would put this Bayern team actually in great. And this is one of those seasons where Robin was just excellent. I believe in this season, Ian Robin was our top goal scorer in the league and our top goal scorer in all competitions. I think it was 24 goals in all competitions or 23 goals in all competitions for Robin that season. So he was definitely on one and in great goal scoring form from beginning to end that season. So I'm putting the 2009-2010 Bayern team in great. Year after, 2010-2011. So I believe we went trophyless this season. No, we went trophyless. I think we won the Super Cup. We won the Super Cup this season, but this was a Bayern team that unfortunately went trophyless. And before I continue talking, I'm actually just going to double check this real quick. Yeah, we only won the DFB Super Cup. We got third in the Bundesliga. DFB Pokal made it to the semifinals, and we only got to the round of 16 in the Champions League. And I remember now the round of 16 in the Champions League that year was our chance to get revenge against Inter. We were playing Inter, just the rematch of the final of the previous season, and we lost on away goals. We ended up winning. We did the hard. This was the craziest thing about that season, especially in the Champions League. We did the hard part of beating Inter in Milan, and then we came back to the Allianz Arena at home and lost 2-3. And they went on through with away goals. Obviously, that's when away goals was still a thing. So yeah, this wasn't a great season. We completely messed up that first leg win we got against Inter Milan in the round of 16, eventually crashing out at home, embarrassingly on away goals, in my opinion. Even though they were the treble-winning Inter Milan defending champions, you get that 1-0 win, and we're Bayern. You do not lose that 1-0 win and get eliminated on away goals. You just can't be doing that. And then to top it all off, third place in the Bundesliga, and not even winning the Pokal, going trophyless. This was a trash season for us. This was a trash season. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a season where Robin had some injury issues, but definitely I think it was Ribery as well had some injury issues as well throughout this season. Not good. Just not good at all. I'm putting in the trash category. And this would start 1 or 2 years of just mediocrity, just 1 or 2 years of trash in the Bundesliga. And this was the year Dortmund won the Bundesliga under Klopp with that young, explosive, high-powered attacking team. And yeah, they fully deserved the league that year with a young Götze, Lewandowski, etc. So yeah, that was a certified trash season from us. And then the next season as well, although we did make it to the final that year in the Allianz Arena at home, we lost the final. 2011-2012 season, we lost the Champions League final at home. We lost the Champions League final at home. And even if we won the league that year, right? Even if we won the league right that year, if we lost the Champions League final, I'm still putting it in trash. Like, the team played well that year. We weren't necessarily garbage, right? We weren't a garbage team. We just didn't have that extra oomph. This was really one of those seasons where we didn't have someone to step up in the final. We didn't have the mentality to close off games and get the job done, because we got second place in the Bundesliga to Dortmund. We lost in the DFB Pokal final, and then we lost in the Champions League final. So I'm putting this in trash season, not necessarily because the football was bad. We were playing well. We were decent. We were a decent little team here. We had, a lot of the players in this team the next year went on to win the treble and be one of the most complete sides of all time in football history, right? But to have such a high quality team and to get second place, to put a silver medal on 3 times in one season, it's embarrassing. And for Bayern standards, you have to put that absolutely in the trash category. I think the only real positives from this season, or one of the big positives of this season, was Manuel Neuer coming into the team. Obviously, we signed him for this year, and when he came into Bayern, there was a lot of protests. People weren't a fan. He was coming from Schalke, a rival team, but he ended up proving himself and being a big boy player. And, remember this Champions League semifinal, Real Madrid in the Santiago Bernabeu, and he pulls off 2 saves against the previous 2 Ballon d'Or winners in Cristiano Ronaldo and Kaká, and puts away his own penalty. He fully won the fans over at that point right there. So that was really a big positive of the year, but, getting second place so many times, there's just no other way to say it, but it's a trash season. Yeah, unacceptable, especially losing the Champions League final at home. Anyway, we get to one of 2 GOAT teams that next year, 2012-2013 season. Those failures of the previous 3 years, the Champions League final defeat to Inter, the next year going trophyless and bottling the round of 16 tie to Inter, then the next year going trophyless again and bottling the Champions League final, getting second place in the DFB Pokal, getting second place in the league to Dortmund again. It all kind of culminated into Jupp Heynckes taking this team, all the lessons learned, all the right signings made. Toni Kroos really fully into the team. Schweinsteiger at his peak as a midfielder. Robin and Ribéry staying fit relatively most of the season and on fire. Mandzukic, our clutch striker. Mario Gomez as the second striker behind him as backup. You had a young Boateng coming into his prime. You had Manuel Neuer in his prime. David Alaba breakout season as a left back. Philip Lahm in his prime. I mean, amazing. Javi Martinez in his prime. Just an amazing, amazing team. And it culminated into a beautiful treble and really probably the most complete side, second most complete side, top to bottom in terms of achievements, performance throughout the season, squad quality, difficulty, one of the best of all time. Just one of Bayern's total absolute peaks. And yeah, it's a GOAT season. And Jupp Heynckes left this season, by the way. Remember, he won the treble, left, and we get to the 2013-14 season. Pep Guardiola's first year as Bayern coach, Bayern manager, whatever you want to call it, coach, manager. I don't know what. Honestly, I don't know. People use those terms interchangeably, in my opinion, from what I see. But Pep Guardiola's first season at Bayern, I would class it as a great season. This was a great season. He came in and took that. Obviously, you're taking over a team that just won the treble. If you don't win the treble, if you don't even win the Champions League, it's always going to be a worse season than a treble winning season if that's what you're trying to follow up. But he came and he got this Bayern team playing some good football, trying to establish the style he would eventually end up playing over the next 3 seasons. And he got us to a semifinal. Yes, we did lose embarrassingly to Real Madrid in that semifinal. 1-0 away from home loss, and then at home completely capitulating. I believe it was 4-0, 5-0 on aggregate. Cristiano scoring a free kick under the wall. That was just the ultimate piss take to cap off the season. But yeah, with Pep Guardiola coming in, the coach, our star signing of that summer was stealing Mario Götze away from Borussia Dortmund. And yeah, we tried our best. And in the end, that La Decima Real Madrid team was they just had too much firepower for that Bayern team, and we couldn't get over the line. We just could not get over the line. But in the Champions League that year, we did finish top of our group, tied on points at Manchester City. I believe that was the season, right? We beat Manchester City, and then Manchester City also beat us, where freaking Kun Agüero scored a hat-trick on us when we actually had the lead. That was just pretty crazy. I'm trying to look here what the final league standing was, but Wikipedia is just absolutely failing me. But who cares? We don't need that. It was a great season for us. And yeah, Pep Guardiola. Actually, you know what? When I think about it a little more, I have to put this in average because we're Bayern. You can't lose 5-0 on aggregate in a Champions League semifinal, especially in the second leg being at home, losing the way we did. That's honestly, it is harsh, but I have to remember the high standards we have. Completely unacceptable. But maybe I'm being a little bit too. I think I'm being a little bit too harsh. Actually, I think I'm being a little bit too harsh. I'll put it in the great. And honestly, all of Pep Guardiola's teams are going to go in the great category. These next 2 teams: Bayern 14-15, Lewandowski's first season, Benatia coming into the team, and then Bayern 15-16. Yeah, basically same exact thing happened 3 years in a row. Bayern win the double all 3 years. All 3 years. Actually, no, we didn't win the Pokal in the 14-15 season. We got first place in the Bundesliga, but we were runners up in the Pokal. Who did we lose to in the Pokal final that year? I'm forgetting. But anyway, that year, Pep Guardiola got a decent amount of signings coming into the 14-15 season. Lewandowski coming on from a free from Dortmund. Sebastian Rud. I remember Juan Bernat was supposed to be the Spanish left back. Pep Guardiola rated highly to come into this team. He brought in Pepe Reina, a guy he knew very well, Spanish goalkeeper, to be the number 2 behind Manuel Neuer, Mehdi Benatia, Xabi Alonso. He got some quality players to boost his squad after that first season, and in the end, he did as well as he could. The reason I'm still putting this team at great is, in the end, when we played MSN Barcelona in the Champions League final, in that semifinal, not the final, that Champions League final, in those two Champions League semifinal clashes, just injuries kind of screwed him over. We were missing some key players against that Barcelona team, and in the end, yes, we lost that game 3-0 in the first leg, but ended up winning at home 3-2. So 5-3 on aggregate makes it seem a little better than it was, but we did lose that first leg 3-0 when Boateng got his ankles twisted out and completely broken. Pretty embarrassing for him, but hey, the previous season he locked up Messi in the World Cup final and made him look like a little bitch. So I guess Messi got his get back. But yeah, I just can't help but think if he didn't have those key injuries, especially for that first leg, he could have probably kept the scoreline lower than 3-0, and then that Allianz Arena win probably would have meant more in the second leg. But yeah, this was a season where Lewandowski is still trying to transition into the team. His first season at Bayern was 100% not smooth. He came in and started scoring some goals, but he wasn't really up to speed right away. You have to remember that as well with Lewandowski. So, yeah. Pep Guardiola, again, making the semifinal there. And then, honestly, the next Bayern team, his last Bayern team before he scurried it off to Manchester City, was by far the most frustrating Pep Guardiola Bayern Munich team. Now, I'm still gonna put them into the great season, because although the Champions League semifinals that he got us to were very disappointing losses compared to the other seasons we ended up having, these were still great seasons. Now, the reason why this season was so frustrating is because from the previous 2 seasons, it seemed like the team learned their lessons. It seemed like Pep Guardiola had finally found his best starting 11 with this Bayern team. Joshua Kimmich breaking into the team and becoming a key player as well. I believe this was his first season. at Bayern. And it was their first season without Schweinsteiger as well, who left to Manchester United after the season previous. But the frustrating thing was just really that semifinal against Atletico Madrid, the culmination, getting such a huge win in the quarterfinals, or was that, no, sorry, a huge win in the round of 16 that year in the Champions League against, remember, that Juventus game over 2 legs. What a game that was. What a freaking game that was, man. And in the Bundesliga, we were just so dominant. Now in the Pokal, we were dominant, but we did go to penalties against Dortmund in that final, and thankfully we got through. But hey, you got to have some luck on your side. In the Champions League, we smoked the group stages, and in the knockout stages, again, just smoking teams. Juventus, the Juventus tie was a back and forth one, but we ended up coming out 6-4 on aggregate. Quarterfinal, getting past Benfica. I think it was 3-2 on aggregate in the end, and then losing 2-2 on away goals to Atletico Madrid was just such a kick in the gut, because Boateng was at his peak here. I mean, Neuer even ascended more into an even higher peak. This was, Philip Lahm was still at his peak. Xabi Alonso was still. Thiago Vidal, Arturo Vidal was in this team. Lewandowski, I mean, Alaba, Joshua Kimmich. I mean, the quality, Kingsley Coman. I think this was Kingsley Coman's first season at Bayern as well. I mean, this team was just completely stacked. He had all the tools to win. But in the end, in his third season at Bayern, his last season at Bayern, he fell to another Spanish team. And that was really part of Guardiola coming to Bayern, in my eyes, was let's establish dominance in Europe, especially over the Spanish teams that do very well in the Champions League. Barcelona, Real Madrid, and then this was Atletico Madrid under Simeone heating up and making Champions League finals. But he came to Bayern, and in this last season, lost to another Spanish team. The three big Spanish teams from La Liga, Atleti, Barcelona, Real Madrid, he lost to all three of them in consecutive Champions League semifinals. It was just disappointing. Like, this was a team very worthy of winning that Champions League. Very worthy. And who knows what happened if they would have gotten to that final. But Real Madrid, Bayern in that final, that would have been a very, very close game. Bayern could win that game, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. We'll never know. And I really believe all three of these Pep Guardiola Bayern teams were good enough to win the Champions League. They just could not get it done in the biggest of moments in the Champions League under Pep Guardiola in those semifinal games. So these were still 3 great seasons of great football dominance in the Bundesliga. 2 out of these 3 seasons, we won the league and cup double, but semifinal defeats in the Champions League all 3 years. Any of these teams right here could have been GOAT teams, but it is what it is. Anyway, Pep Guardiola leaves Bayern, and the next season we have is the Ancelotti's first and only full season at Bayern. He ends up getting sacked the year after, but we'll talk about that after we talk about this team. But yeah, Bayern 2016, 2017, we won the Super Cup. We didn't win the Pokal. We won the Bundesliga. This season, I'm putting an average. No, I have to put. No, yeah, I have to put this season in average. Why am I putting it in average? Because you have to, with the strength of team we had at this point, Xabi Alonso and Philipp Lahm's last seasons, but they were still playing at a very high level. You have Vidal, you have Thiago, Robin, Ribéry, Lewandowski, Boateng. Now at this point, you have Mats Hummels. You have Neuer at his peak, Alaba at his peak. You also Kimmich even progressing further and becoming an even bigger part-time player in this big-time player in this team. Kingsley Coman again still growing into this team. You have a stacked team, and you can't win the Pokal. That just didn't sit right to me. Like, how are you not winning how are you not winning the DFB Pokal? Like, that doesn't really make sense to me. We also brought in, remember, after the Euros, we brought in Renato Sanchez, the breakout star at Euro 2016. I just don't get how you don't win the Pokal that year. For me, that's unacceptable. That really is unacceptable. And not to mention, we finished second in the group stage that year. We didn't finish first. Our goal should always be to finish first in the group stage in the Champions League. Obviously, we have the league phase now, but group stages was the norm. We weren't even first. That wasn't a great start to the season, and in the end, we also got knocked out to Real Madrid in the quarterfinals. Now, the reason why I'm still, it's a little harsh. We did win the Bundesliga, and we did get absolutely robbed in this Real Madrid game. Like, when I look at this Real Madrid game, 2 things can be true. Bayern messed up and could have completely blown Real Madrid out of the water if they put their chances away, but they were also completely screwed over by the refs. Arturo Vidal wrongly sent off. In the second leg against Real Madrid, Ian Robin missing chances, Lewandowski missing chances, but also Cristiano Ronaldo scoring 3 offsides goals. I mean, they were very unlucky. And if this Bayern team beat Real Madrid, as they probably rightfully should have, if Cristiano Ronaldo didn't score 3 freaking offside goals, this game, remember, this tie went to extra time. The Real Madrid, this was Real Madrid. This is the Real Madrid team that was of their 3P team, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18. This was the best Real Madrid team out of that 3P Real Madrid era. And we were the better team over 2 legs. And Cristiano Ronaldo somehow scored a hat-trick of offside goals to send it to extra. I mean, it's just genuinely, it's almost been 10 years since then. And I still just get, as I talk about it, I just get so worked up. I mean, how do you, I get it. If he scores 1 offsides goal, fine. 2, all right. Unlucky. 3? Yes, this isn't the VAR era, but you guys, 3. I mean, it's just crazy that none of them were picked up. None of them. It just shows you, man. You could be a great team, but you do need luck to win a Champions League. And Real Madrid, whether they paid the refs, whether the refs were biased, or whether they just got so unbelievably lucky with the ref calls that night. They went through and we finished the season off with only a Bundesliga. So yeah, I'm going to put this team in average, but they definitely are also kind of in the great category as well. So yeah, actually, they're a great team. They were a great team, and we got screwed over in the Champions League. I'm going to maintain that. I'm going to absolutely maintain that. Bayern 17-18. Now, remember, this season didn't start too well. Ancelotti kind of lost the dressing room. The players weren't a fan of his training tactics, his lack of, he's definitely, Ancelotti is definitely a manager that lets players have their freedom and everything. But I guess his training, I just remember a lot of the players had turned on him because they didn't like his training style, week-to-week training style, day-to-day training style. I remember that was a big stickler. I remember Robin, big guys in the dressing room were pro Ancelotti out. And he lost the dressing room and got sacked. And I remember the pivotal point for this Bayern team of him getting sacked was us losing 3-1 to PSG in the group stage of the Champions League in Paris. That was absolutely unacceptable. And our key signings this season, it was the two Hoffenheim signings. Remember, Hoffenheim, Julian Nagelsmann's Hoffenheim was were balling. And we brought in young Niklas Süle when he was actually serious, and Sebastian Rudy from Hoffenheim. And this was the first season without Philipp Lahm. Philipp Lahm was retired, and Xabi Alonso also retired after the previous season. God, my throat is so dry, guys. I don't know how people talk for such long periods of time and keep their throat moist or something. I don't know if that's the right way. But anyway, continuing. Yeah. Losing the PSG, he gets sacked, and then we call Jupp Heynckes from the graveyard. From the grave, we call Jupp Heynckes to come save this season. Remember, also James Rodriguez came to us on loan this year as well, and Jupp Heynckes came, and much like what Hansi Flick did in the sextuple team in 1920, he came in and reinvigorated all these players. Thomas Müller, Lewandowski, James Rodriguez was playing brilliant football. Boateng and Hummels in the back, just playing at their peak. Manuel Neuer was injured the entire season. Sven Ulreich stepping up to the plate and being an excellent goalie for Bayern all season. But in the end, it was only one league title. We lost 3-1 in the final to Eintracht Frankfurt of the DFB Pokal. And again, in the semifinals against Real Madrid, this time by our own doing. Missed chances and massive mistake in the back by Sven Ulreich in the second leg in the Santiago Bernabeu completely kills us in the Champions League, and we lose to Real Madrid in the semifinal, and they go on to win their three-peat the game after against Liverpool. I mean, I just remember again, this Bayern team, they would always falter in the semifinals. And this time, I remember in the first leg, Rafinha played a brainless backwards headed pass to Ulreich. I remember Asensio latched onto it and scored an easy goal in the first leg, completely avoidable. And in the second leg, the missed chances from Lewandowski, missed chances, a couple from James Rodriguez. I remember Joshua Kimmich scoring the opening goal in both legs. That's when I knew Joshua Kimmich was really, really serious. And in that second leg, the Sven Ulreich mistake as well, just having a stroke as he came up. I don't know why, to this day, I don't know why he didn't just kick the ball out. And, Lewandowski having a little bit of a finishing disaster class. Ribery was on smoke over these two legs. He was destroying and nutmegging Luka Modric, all of them. But it just wasn't enough, and we couldn't get to the final. But, yeah, this was still a serious Bayern team. I remember Corentin Tolisso, I believe, also came in this season, and he was excellent as a second option off the bench or even as a starter a lot of times as well for Bayern in that midfield. He was great. But again, we left this season only with a league title. And yeah, the performance was still good though. So I'm going to put them in the great category. There's a lot of great Bayern teams, but we're going to get into a little era of mediocrity. So yeah, we ended that season with a league title. Players reinvigorated before a very disastrous World Cup for a lot of those German players. But yeah, it is what it is. And then we get to the 18-19 season, and this is going to be our first team in the average category. This is going to be our first team in the average category. So actually, compared to the last two teams, 17-18 Bayern, 16-17 Bayern, and Pep Guardiola's second season at Bayern, 14-15, this Bayern team actually won the double. They won the league and they won the FB Pokal, and this was under Niko Kovac, his one and only full season at Bayern. Now, it took him some time. It took Niko Kovac some time to figure out this Bayern team. But once Niko Kovac found the groove, and it also, this was Robin and Ribéry's last season as well. Let's not forget it. Mats Hummels' last season at Bayern before going back to Borussia Dortmund as well. It took him a while to figure out this team because we knew this was going to be Robin and Ribéry's last season. He had Kingsley Coman and Serge Gnabry, a new signing, Serge Gnabry, to integrate into the team for the future. You had Joshua Kimmich becoming a full starter. You still had Thiago Thomas Muller. Definitely, this was the lowest point of Thomas Muller's career because he just seems so out of place under Niko Kovac. James Rodriguez was still around in the second year of his loan, but Niko Kovac could not get anywhere near the same amount of quality out of James Rodriguez as Jupp Heynckes did. And then in the back, we had our issues in the defense. But yeah, Manuel Neuer coming back from a year-long injury, he wasn't at his absolute best. But, we had a brilliant second half of the season under Niko Kovac. The only thing that puts this Bayern team actually not in the great category was how shit we were in the Champions League. And especially, in the group stages, we were all right. We were okay. But especially that round of 16 clash with Liverpool, it really was one of the most embarrassing moments of my time as a Bayern fan. It really was disgusting watching that round of 16 tie because we go as Bayern. We're freaking Bayern. We pulled up to Anfield and played peak Sean Dyche Burnley ball. We put 10 men behind the ball and defended for 90 minutes. That was egregious, but I was willing to let that slide if we pulled up to the Allianz Arena in the second leg and finished Liverpool and went on to the quarterfinals. But no, we continued to just collapse in the second half of that second leg and lose 3-1. Sadio Mane embarrassed us. Salah with an outside of the foot assist to Van Dijk. I mean, they just killed us. And it was just an embarrassing round of 16 defeat. It was the only time I got physical after a loss. I punched a hole in the wall after we lost this game. And I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. My brother's a Liverpool fan. He was rubbing it in my face a little. And I literally took my hand like this and I slammed it into the wall and I put a big fat gaping hole in the wall. No cap. Not lying at all. So, and the weird thing about this season was after that loss to Liverpool, actually that loss to Liverpool in the second half of the season, that was our only loss. That was our only loss in a 5-6 month period. So Niko Kovac found the groove with this team, turned them into a winning machine to win the Pokal and the Bundesliga, right? And this was a year we went to the final day with Dortmund to win the Bundesliga, by the way. When Robin and Ribéry both scored in their final game, we beat Eintracht Frankfurt 5-1 in the Allianz Arena. We turned into a winning machine after a very iffy start to the season. I believe at December, we were 9 points behind Dortmund, 10 points behind Dortmund. But just a sore point in that second half of the season, embarrassing performance against Liverpool in the Champions League. And yeah, that first half of the season performance was also just trash. So we got the league and cup double, but in terms of overall performance and how we played, the optics of it, the way we played against Liverpool, this season is going straight into the average category. Next season, I mean, do I have to talk about it? Niko Kovac starts this season 1920, gets sacked. Hansi Flick comes in, and the rest is history. 8 months, 9 months, he wins us a sextuple. He wins us 7 trophies. We become the most dominant, most potent attacking team in Champions League history, the most dangerous team in Champions League history. An unstoppable force. And yeah, it's another GOAT season for Bayern. I mean, And I swear, like, I would put a non-Champions League winning Bayern team in the GOAT seasons. It's just from all these teams here that won the league, they just were falling short. Like, if they at least got to the Champions League final in any of these seasons, I would probably put them in as a GOAT season, right? But really, when you think about it for Bayern and their standards and everything where we want to be, you can't have a GOAT season at Bayern without winning the Champions League. You just can't. And so, yeah, these are going to be the only two teams that go and GOAT, are two Champions League winning teams, two treble winning teams, and one of them a sextuple winning team. I don't really have to say much about them. We know why they're going in GOAT. So huge respect then. And then excuse me, Bayern 2020, 2021. I'm going to put this team in at average as well. This was Hansi Flick's second season. Second season at Bayern. The thing is, though, they were a great team. But the reason I'll put them in average, I won't put them in great, is because, yes, the team still was performing great. I mean, they were basically carrying on, doing the same thing, taking the same momentum from winning the Champions League the previous season. It's just two little sore points here in this campaign. Two little sore points. Our exit from the DFB Pokal was embarrassing. Being a sextuple winning team, being the treble winning team, the Champions League defending team, to lose in the Pokal the way we did that year was just embarrassing. And I think it was the Holstein Kiel, right? I believe it was the Holstein Kiel. We lost like 3-2, was it? I'm forgetting the score, but I think we did lose to Holstein Kiel that year. Third division team at the time. Absolutely unacceptable. So that was already a huge sore point in the season. And then to top it all off, we lost to the team we beat in the Champions League final the year previous on away goals in the quarterfinal. Now, although that was a negative and, we should be winning that game, the only slack I'll cut this team here is that we were missing three of our key players in those two PSG ties. We were missing Gnabry. We were missing our two most important attackers, Lewandowski and Serge Gnabry, and we were missing Leon Goretzka, who was one of our best midfielders in that team at the time. We were missing three absolute key players. And honestly, if we just had Lewandowski in this team, not Gnabry or Goretzka, we probably would have won that PSG game and we could have made another run to the Champions League final, but injury screwed us. And in the end, we just didn't have enough juice to get a second goal in Paris in that second leg. And we lose 3-3 and go out on away goal. So I don't really knock them too much for that loss, but losing, after the dominant year we had previously, to lose to Holstein Kiel, third division team, it was just embarrassing. And it was just a really big sore spot in that year. And this was obviously Hansi Flick's second and last season at Bayern. This was David Alaba and Jerome Boateng's last seasons at Bayern. So, yeah, this season is going in average. And then we go into the next season. This is Julian Nagelsmann's first season at Bayern, and this is also going to go into the average category, and it's going to go at the bottom of average. Yes, we did win the league title, but again, we had another embarrassing cup exit. What was it? 5-0 to Borussia Mönchengladbach in the first game of the Pokal. Absolutely unacceptable. I was willing to accept that loss because Julian Nagelsmann was a young manager we were bringing in for the future, so I knew it wouldn't be an easy road ahead. But that 5-0 loss was such a big stain. And then to top it all off, yes, we did win the league that year. Lewandowski was playing brilliantly. I remember his bicycle kick against Dynamo Kiev, I think it was, in the group stages of the Champions League that year. We pimped on Barcelona. They were in our group. We pimped on Barcelona 2 times in the group stage as well, winning 3-0 both times. But, the 2 sore points of this season was, 1, that awful DFB Pokal loss, and 2, the embarrassing Champions League final exit. Why do I keep saying Champions League final? That absolutely utter embarrassing Champions League quarterfinal exit to Villarreal. It really was embarrassing. I mean, and to be honest, part of it goes on Nagelsmann and part of it goes on the players. In the first leg of that tie, I for sure blame it on Nagelsmann. He rushed back Alphonso Davies from COVID, and he looked completely lost in that back line in that first game in Spain. And then in that second leg, he learned from his mistakes, sent a stronger team with better tactics out there, and the players just did not deliver and finish their chances in that second leg. Lewandowski scored, but he had one or two other chances. Thomas Muller missed 2 point blank headers, and I think we had like one or two more chances along with those other four chances, and we just did not put them away. And in the end, I think it was Chukwueze at the end that punished us with that in that 87th minute, getting that goal on the counterattack to knock us out, embarrassing fashion. So yeah, two very low points that season. They just can't be masked. They can't be masked with a league title win. So this Bayern team is going into the average category. But I will say some of the positives. One of the big positives in this team was that Musiala was being integrated into the team further, getting more minutes, establishing himself further as one of the top players in Europe and one of the top young talents in Europe. So, I love to see Nagelsmann getting him more involved. And then the next season, this season had a potential to be great, maybe even a GOAT season. It really did. But in the end, this ended up being, let's be honest, this ended up, even though we won the league, this ended up being a trash season. Now, let's talk about this with context. Julian Nagelsmann started this season, and before Julian Nagelsmann sacking, we were shaping up to be going for a strong season. Potentially, this team could have been in the great category, but because of Julian Nagelsmann getting sacked, because Tuchel being brought in to quote unquote that iconic quote, save the treble, completely derailed the season. I really felt, and the amazing thing about this Bayern season for me, when I think back on it, is how many goals and how much of a potent attack Julian Nagelsmann created with this team when he lost Lewandowski. Lewandowski went to Barcelona, and we did not replace him with anyone. We took a guy that had scored 50, 60 goals each year, the last 3 years for Bayern. We took that away from Nagelsmann, and we gave him no replacement. We gave him Sadio Mane, and we had him keep Choupo-Moting, who was the backup striker previously. That was the only reinforcements he had for a 60-goal-a-year striker from the last 3 seasons. And even with that absence, I was really proud. I was really impressed with how Julian Nagelsmann was setting up his team to account for that massive gap in goals. And yes, around the time Nagelsmann got sacked, there was a little bit of struggle in the league. We were very close with Dortmund for the league title, but I really felt that Julian Nagelsmann had it in control. Yes, he bottled a bit of a lead from first place in the Bundesliga, but I really felt like he had it under control. As a young manager, he was trying to balance a Pokal, a Champions League, and winning the league, and I felt like he was learning on the job rapidly, and he had it. It was safe. It was all in his control. Maybe we wouldn't have gone to win the treble, but I think Julian Nagelsmann was definitely on track to win the Bundesliga and the Pokal that season. But Hasan Salihamidzic, Oliver Kahn, one of the biggest pussy moves in Bayern history. They sack the young top German manager in Julian Nagelsmann, losing their patience on the project and patience that we promised Julian Nagelsmann, and we brought in Thomas Tuchel to quote unquote save the treble. What happens when Thomas Tuchel comes in? Yes, his first game we beat Dortmund 4-0, but what happens within 2.5, 3 weeks? We get knocked out of the Pokal, and then we go and get knocked out by Manchester City. Now, losing to Manchester City, fair. He would, in all fairness, Thomas Tuchel did send that Bayern team out over 2 legs with the winning match plan against that Manchester City team. It's just in that first leg in Manchester, in the Etihad Stadium, Upamecano had his all-time career disaster class in that game. He just had his all-time career disaster class, and that's when we started to see the real shades of Leon Goretzka turning into a jogging merchant on the field. So I really don't blame him too much for that, but coming in, being a so-called cup manager, to come in and save the treble, To get knocked out by Mainz in the next round of the Pokal within 2 weeks, completely embarrassing. And it took a season from potentially great season to I have to put it in the trash, even though we won the league season. Even when we won the league title in dramatic fashion, Jamal Musiala, late goal. Remember the drama on that last day of the season, that Jamal Musiala goal. It was a great moment to cap off a very disappointing end to a promising season. So for that reason, it's not even necessarily because of the team. The team was strong in everything. It's just the way our board acted and managed the season completely derailed it. And for that, I have to put this Bayern team into trash. Now, you know what? I'm gonna reverse it. It's a little too harsh, but it was an average season. But the point here is this had potential to be up here, up with the great seasons, or if we somehow won the treble that year or won the Champions League that year, it would have been a GOAT season. But the board pussied out and did not pussied out and backstabbed Julian Nagelsmann and sent him out of the club, and it was just fucking bullshit, in my opinion. Absolute bullshit. And then the next season, the worst season of all. Out of all these seasons, for me, the worst season. Now, I won't act like this Thomas Tuchel, and this is Thomas Tuchel's one and only full season at Bayern. I won't act like this was a complete trash season. We had great moments. I think in this 23-24 season, from the beginning of the season of August up to December, we were actually money. We were actually very good. Leroy Sané was like a top 10 player of the world. Harry Kane started life at Bayern very well. Joshua Kimmich was playing well. Upamecano and Kim Min-jae had formed a formidable double center back partnership. Alphonso Davies, a bunch of players were on form in that first half of the season. And then the winter break came about. Kim Min-jae, for example, went to Asia Cup. He lost his place in the team. We had injuries. And then Thomas Tuchel starts crumbling under the pressure in the league. We start losing games. We have the worst second half of the season in the Bundesliga we've had in decades, in literal decades. And we end up losing the league title to, deserving winners, Leverkusen, undefeated season, not losing a single game, amazing. But just the manner in which we ended that season was awful. Now, counterpoint to that, did we have a very good, decent Champions League run? Yes. Did Thomas Tuchel take us to wins over Arsenal? Take us to almost beating Real Madrid? Yes. But almost isn't beating. We didn't win against Real Madrid. He did take out key players when we're only 1-0 up against Real Madrid in the second leg in the Bernabeu. He did that. So completely coaching the team to a capitulation in the league and the Pokal that year too. We crashed out of the Pokal again. Mr. Cup manager Thomas Tuchel losing to Starbucks FC, Saarbrücken FC in like the first or second round. Completely embarrassing. This was just a trash season. This was probably the second or third lowest point as a Bayern fan. This season overall, and definitely the end of this season, because it was just a shit show. And we went trophyless. We went third in the Bundesliga. We crashed out to Starbucks FC in the beginning of the Pokal rounds, and we had a semi-decent Champions League run. That's not enough. Absolute, utter trash season. And I'm glad Thomas Tuchel got sacked for it. And then we come to the most recent season, Vincent Kompany getting hired as the Bayern manager and coming in. And, it's not a popular take, but I thought it was a good season from Bayern. I really did think it was a good season. I think, honestly, dude, I won't put it in great. I won't put it in great, but from this season under Vincent Kompany, if the players delivered more, this would have been a great season. I genuinely believe there are certain players, certain moments from the team that let Vincent Kompany down. Yes, he started off strong in the league, Vincent Kompany, and iffy in the Champions League, and eventually, Bayern had to go through the playoffs. I wasn't expecting that going into the season, so that was a big disappointment. But we get to the playoffs, we get to the round of 16, and the culmination, destroying Leverkusen over 2 legs and gaining momentum in the league. The way we finished the league season, completely strong, stiffing out Leverkusen and getting it done professionally while playing great football. Very, we brought back a certain level of intensity that we kind of lost since Hansi Flick. Now, Julian Nagelsmann brought a lot of intensity with his team as well, but his Julian Nagelsmann's teams weren't as aggressive as this Vison Company team was. And with this Bayern team, they were defensively very good, aggressive, dominant. It's just in 2 moments this year, I felt like Company got screwed. I think in the Pokal, Bayern, Manuel Neuer had a rare lapse of judgment. He gets sent off in the beginning of the Pokal knockout game against Leverkusen, and Leverkusen eventually snake their way through when Bayern have are a man down for basically the entirety of the game. And that Champions League quarterfinal, man, Harry Kane's huge miss against Inter that changed the whole momentum of the tie. I just felt like in the Champions League quarterfinal and in that Pokal scenario where Neuer got a red card, Vision Company was really let down because I think he definitely could have delivered us. He delivered us the league, but he definitely could have delivered us the DFB Pokal for sure. And I think he coached a very good game against Inter across 2 legs, and some of the players on our team just let him down. So I think for that, I'm gonna put him at the top of average. Now, yes, did this Niko Kovac team, Bayern team, win a domestic double? They did, but Company's football was more impressive. Company's football was more matching Bayern's style and identity. Company's football was more entertaining. Not to mention Michael Olise breakout season. We finally found our new right winger, a proper Robin replacement, Musiala. Yes, he got injured at the end of the season, and now he has to recover from his fucking foot snapping in half, ankle snapping in half. But he took massive leaps towards becoming a more mature, clinical, and smarter player this season. Alphonso Davies became a leader in the backline. Upamecano became a leader in the backline. Neuer showed that he's still at the top level. Yosuke Kimmich is still showing his level. So had potential to be great, but faltered in a couple moments, and that makes that Bayern team average. So this is how I'm ranking all the Bayern seasons since 2010. Just to recap everything in the tier list. In the GOAT, in the GOAT category, I have Bayern 2012-2013, coached by Jupp Heynckes. In Bayern 2019-2020, coached by Hansi Flick. In the great category, I have Bayern 2009-2010, coached by Louis van Gaal. I have Bayern 2013-2014, coached by Pep. 2014-2015, coached by Pep. 2015-2016, coached by Pep. I have Bayern 2016-2017 in the great category, coached by Ancelotti. And final team in the great category for Bayern is Bayern 2017-2018, coached by Jupp Heynckes the majority of the season. In the average category, I have Vison Company's Bayern team of 24-25. I have Hansi Flick's second season at Bayern, the 2020-2021 season. I have Bayern 2018-2019 under Niko Kovac in average. I have Julian Nagelsmann's first season at Bayern, 2021-2022 in average. And I have the Julian Nagelsmann / Thomas Tuchel season, 2022-2023 in the average column. And then I have 3 teams in trash. I have Bayern 2010-11, Bayern 2011-12, and Bayern 23-24. So that's the tier list. Wanted to get a Bayern video out there. I'll post this soon. It's been your boy Hokage. I've been talking enough. 53 minutes, 54 minutes. Dang, guys. I was not expecting to go that long. Jeez. But let me know what you think if you made it this far. Like, subscribe. Mia San Mia to my Mia San Mia boys. FC Bayern, we will be back. Let's make some signings, Bayern. I'm tired. Give me some signings. Give me some new players so I have things to talk about. So we have transfer news to cover. Pissing me off. It's been your boy. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.